If the police come to your door, do you have to open up for them? Here to help us answer that legal question is top criminal defense attorney Tom Grieve, also a former state prosecutor. Before we get into it, we have a gun giveaway going on. It's happening right now, and you can enter for free, but it ends really soon. So just click the link in the description down below to reveal which brand new gun you could win. So let me set the stage for you here, Tom. I got some backstory here, and I'll read it to make sure I get it right. An interested viewer writes, I had this happen once. My boyfriend and I were asleep, his son on the couch. It was 2 a.m. and my dog started freaking out. I wake up and I hear pounding on the door. I go and peek, and it's the cops with flashlights. They see me peeking through the door and bellow, "Put the dog away." This particular police department is kind of known for shooting people's dogs. It was a rough city I lived in. So now I'm yelling at my boyfriend to put the dog in the bathroom so they don't shoot her. I open the door, it's 2 a.m. and I'm groggy, and the cops yell at me, "What's going on in here?" And I'm so confused, all the lights are off in the house. I tell them we were all sleeping. Apparently one of the neighbors had gone off the rails and was in the hallway of the apartment building screaming and pounding on walls and doors. I didn't hear any of this because the door that goes to the rest of the building down the long hall and far from the rest of our apartment was closed. The police continued to interrogate me for a while. They were super rude about the whole thing, even though they woke me up and screamed at me at 2 a.m. in my own house. Eventually, they believed that I was not the one causing the ruckus, and they went off to find the culprit. Moral of the story is this: you don't have to open the door unless they have a warrant, and in my personal experience, it does not behoove you to do so. This letter writer said behoove, even if you didn't do anything. I will also state, though, I still open the door if the police are there because regardless of personal experience, I believe that most police are good people trying to do a difficult job, and I respect them. Well, it makes me feel a little bit better. So, legal recommendations on this. I know we can't just kick in the door if you don't open the door when you come to it, but 2 a.m, cops come knocking at your door. What's the right thing to say?
Well, let's first off start by observing the law on this, right? So you're absolutely correct that in and of itself, the cops can't just kick in the door and go in. But it depends, right? You knew the note was coming. Yep. Let's just play that.
And based on this story, there's some activity going on that they need to investigate. That's right. Clear.
So we don't know. If you wake up 2 a.m., cops are banging, flashlights, all that kind of stuff, we don't know what they know. Mm-hmm. And that's super important because ordinarily they can't just come in. But what if they have information that they can reliably act upon that says they can come in due to exigent circumstances? What if they do have a warrant? What if this whole thing is a big mistake, which it obviously was in this case? These are all risks that you run if you don't open the door. And that's not me trying to say you should always open the door. It's not me trying to say never open the door. It's me just saying, look, here's what it is.
Yeah, there's options here.
There's options.
And let's lay them out for people.
Right. So. If you don't open the door, there's a chance that they'll go in. I mean, let's face it. At this point, you're probably not going to get back to sleep anyways, other than the fact that, if they move on to the next door, right? Yeah. But for some reason, they have some sort of specific information that directed or perhaps misdirected them to you. Mm-hmm. One way or another, you're probably going to have to deal with that. From the legal end, if you do open the door, well, you're going to go through their questioning. That you do have to make the decision of are you going to let them in or not. Keep in mind, if you let them in, it's going to be hard to get them out.
Yep.
So, I would probably draw the line somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. Also, an apartment building, I appreciate the fact that I've never been to an apartment building or dormitory or anything like that has screen doors. On a house, that's pretty nifty. The fact that, you can open your interior door while having perhaps still a locked screen door. In other words, you can have a conversation through a screen while still very physically observing the legal limitations that are at stake here. Because I've also seen a number of times, more than a number of times, I can't count the number of times, where cops, once the door is open, they kind of just let themselves in to a degree at that point. And, hey, if the person doesn't say no, then, well, it is what it is. It seems to be how that runs. But again, the big question is we don't have the information that they have. And whether it's right, whether it's wrong, right now in the moment, that's totally besides the point.
Yeah.
So speaking only for myself as a guy, not as an attorney, but as a guy, I would probably do what she did. And I say that as somebody who's boring. I don't have anything that, I'd be less interested in them getting at. I don't say that because I love the police running through my apartment at 2 a.m. I say that because I don't want them getting a warrant, because I don't want them kicking down the door. I guess I see that as the least bad option of the options. Also, the other fact as well is, what the heck got all these police officers here? I don't think I know anything, but maybe there's something I can do to help catch whoever this is that's out there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, I want to protect myself. I want to protect my family. And in this fact pattern, I think that that's opening the door and talking to them, not holding up. You can also try talking to them through the door. That, of course, being another option. I don't think, that could end any number of different ways. But I would probably just want to de-escalate this as quickly as possible.
So there are going to be people who are commenting on this video who, throwing their hands up in the air. Never open the door unless you have a warrant. So,
Right.
and in my experience as a police officer who has knocked on some doors at apartments complexes where there has been a disturbance, if I believe that, yep, that's the door, I get the call and somebody says, I think it's coming from Unit 5. All right. I'm not going to rush to Unit 5 and start pounding on the door. I'm going to take some time and sit back and listen and see if I can hear anything that gives me more of an indication of where I need to go to investigate what's going on. But in theory, so officers walk in, they go to Unit 5, believing that something is wrong there in Unit 5. They knock on the door. Someone hollers from inside the door, nope, everything's fine here. Go away. Now, as an officer, I don't have any real indication. There's nothing that I can articulate out there that gives me reason to make entry into that house, force entry into that house to rescue somebody. I know there's imminent danger or anything like that. In that case, me as the good cop, I'm going to be walking away. I'm going to be like, okay, well, I tried to make contact with you. Everything's okay. I didn't hear anything, so I can't put anything in my report that says I had reason to break down the door, so I'm not going to have to be talking to the sergeant or the chief or anybody like that for breaking down that door. Could that happen, though? Could the officer have heard something, whatever, and still totally be in the right, and now you didn't open the door and they decided for whatever reason that they need to rescue someone or something inside that house? They're coming through the door. And, I don't want to say, could we have avoided that by opening the door and talking to them? Because, again, we'll get people who are angry at us from both sides of this as we're talking about it. But understanding, hey, come back with a warrant, they might just do that. And then they're coming in and they're going to search your whole place. Right. And they got the warrant because of some reason.
And it was much more invasive than it would have been the other way around. And that's kind of the way, look, I rest to my principles, but I also heavily mediate that with pragmatism. And at the end of the day, we have a big wild card of what got them to be knocking on your door.
Yeah.
Big wild card. Yeah, some people were arguing, screaming, someone said I'm going to kill you, and all of a sudden everything went silent. Okay, I mean, they're coming. Yeah. They're coming through that door one way or the other.
We're going to go in there and we're going to do a welfare check. We're going to figure out what's going on.
And I think a welfare check, if that's the fact pattern, is probably, they could come in pretty hot and fast.
Yeah.
Or we've got officer safety issues. I mean, that door is coming down. There might be broken glass. If you've never seen what it looks like to have officers actually come through in something like that, you can understand a little bit more why I'm taking the approach that I am. I want everybody to be safe. I also want my rights to be protected. And it seems to me that when I'm looking at the balancing act of this, with the huge question mark of why are they knocking on my door, and me as a criminal defense attorney, there's a continuum, right? Of, yeah, they don't have enough to come in through. They don't have enough to come in. They don't have enough to come in. okay, they're going to have enough to come in at this point. Whether I let them in or not, they're coming in. And if they come in, this is going to be way worse than everything at this end of the equation. And I can try to win this set of possibilities by making that respectful, cooperative, but still protecting my rights door opening conversation, or maybe through that screened porch door, as I said.
Yeah.
But I entirely understand why people would have that conversation through a door, a closed, locked door. I'm not taking anything away from that. But those folks are running a risk of if what got the officers to your door comes from this end of the continuum, we just don't know at that point as to what might happen next. And I'm not worried about this end of the continuum. I'm worried on we've got exigent circumstances. We've got probable cause. We're coming in one way or the other. That's where bad things happen.
Yeah, and I would encourage people that if the police officers truly believe that they need to get in there and they're going through that door for whatever reason it is, that if that's happening, I don't want people to fight back, because the cops will be in fight mode when they're coming through that door, and somebody might get injured, and we don't want it to be an innocent homeowner. But the truth of the matter is, it's a pain in the ass that night if the cops push their way in or kick in your door or come in your house or something like that. It's far worse if you get killed as a result of that. And if the cops do it improperly and you survive that encounter, you're going to have the opportunity to make a case against the police. And I'm a big fan of telling people all the time, if cops truly make a mistake, then it pays to sue the department, because that's how cops are help kept in check as well. You know, that they need to understand that there are consequences if they're making that huge mistake. But man, I get nervous when people say, well, if they kick in my door for no reason, I'm going to fight with the cops.
That's how you get killed or go to jail or prison.
Yeah, and at that point, I would much rather fight police officers in the courtroom than in the hallway of your home.
And keep in mind that every state, to my knowledge, I'm sure there's some sort of exception out there, but if you use force or if you resist what even turns out to be an illegal entry or an illegal arrest, guess who goes to jail?
Yeah.
You do. It can be really easy to get this thing bogged down in an important discussion of principle, but that's topic for another video. The way I try to look at it pragmatically is that life isn't a game. It's a series of games. And as with any time we're playing an iterative game, one of the worst things you can do is get yourself knocked out, right? We want to be able to play this set of games. So we want to make sure that we're not going to do something that's going to get us killed, thrown in prison, whatever the case may be, because now we not only lose that game, we lose the series of games. And if I'm thinking about what's going to make me lose the series of games, I can understand that there's an argument of, well, yeah, but if you cooperate with law enforcement when you don't have to, does that have some sort of attack against the Constitution? No, I don't think so. I think that if the cops do something that's illegal and if you fail to stand up against it in court, you have an argument for that. But I don't think that me talking to law enforcement through the passageway of my front door somehow is a forfeiture of constitutional rights. I think that those lines get blurred. I think that what that is drawing the line of, look, no, I don't want anyone to come in. My kids are sleeping. How can I help you? You know, what's going on here? And having that respectful conversation, that's not violating any constitutional rights. It's the least bad decision, I think, or the least bad choice you can make out of all the different decisions that are out there, that's covering that continuum of what got them to come here, and it's keeping you in the game and not allowing you to get knocked out, or at least you're minimizing your chances of being knocked out. That's the reason why I select that.
Yeah, and I hope that people understand, too, that if cops knock on your door at 2 a.m, they're not there randomly.
Right.
And they're there trying to solve some sort of problem that someone else maybe has identified, and it might be the mistaken address, or it might be something like that. But understand, cops are human too. They might make a mistake on the address, or they may have gotten bad information from the person who was the caller, who said, I think it came from down that way, and they're just trying to figure it out. So, there are ways to preserve and protect your rights, and there are also ways to do that while you are kind of helping out. I don't think there's one line in the sand where we say always do this or always do that. I think you have to, think about what's going to be the best in that situation. And like you said, respectful, helpful to the extent that you want to be. If you don't want to be helpful, great, but at least don't be disrespectful about doing it.
I think there's only one time we can use the word always when it comes to legal advice and that kind of stuff. And that's that if you use the word always, that advice is always wrong. It's a
profound.
We can say that, raising your rights and not speaking to law enforcement, that's the safest option. I'm not convinced that that's always the appropriate action because I don't know what you're going to say. I don't know how that officer is going to receive their information. I don't know how it's going to resonate with them, the detective, the sergeant, whoever. Yep. It could be that you could sway the investigation into your favor in a self-defense shoot. It's far more likely that you're going to say something that you're going to have a foot and mouth moment. And it's quite possible that law enforcement and the prosecutors are going to be heavily weighing that against you when you gave them the wrong street address, when you gave them the wrong time, when you said X, Y, Z that you really want to walk back, but you can't because it's out there. Not because you were trying to lie, but because it was 3 a.m. and someone broke into your home. You're disoriented, groggy. Your neural pathways are firing like crazy with everything that's going on. You're tired. You're dehydrated, you're malnourished. I mean, on and on and on. That's why it happened, but that's also the reason why, that's probably not the right time for you to make this statement at that time. But that doesn't mean that somewhere out there, it's always the right call to never talk to the police. Like sometimes it might be if you do a great job and you got the right officer and you got the right facts, sometimes it might be. But the safest answer I can say is don't.
All right. Well, thank you again. Thanks for your insight, Tom. It's always great to have you here and help folks out looking at these from all perspectives, not just the one angry person who's going to be yelling at us on the comments section now as we talk.
I look forward to reading it.
Yeah. But thanks again. And folks, thank you for watching all the way to the end of the video. Quick reminder again, we have the gun giveaway going on, so click the link in the description to learn more. I'm Kevin Michalowski. If you enjoy guns, freedom, and everything about concealed carry, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay safe.